That is the main question everyone is asking. So let's ask that from our guest, Brian Becker, who's the executive director of the ANSWER Coalition, an anti-war civil rights group in Washington. Brian, so what do you think? Was the attack in Manbij direct result of President Trump's withdrawal and the fact that he said ISIS has been defeated? Is there a direct correlation here?
I think there is a direct correlation, but it's quite a curious attack. I mean, Manbij has been liberated from ISIS for 2 years. During those 2-year period, there has not been a single terrorist attack in the city. Suddenly, right after President Trump announces that the U.S. is actually going to leave Syria, there's an attack. These American soldiers and military personnel were not on patrol. They were in a cafe where they eat frequently. It was a known target. So when we look at this, as we would look at any murder scene, we'd have to ask, if we're investigating, who's the beneficiary? Who is the beneficiary? Right now, in this city, in Washington, D.C., there is a rising chorus of opposition to Donald Trump's announcement that the U.S. was going to leave Syria. It's from the Republicans, Lindsey Graham, it's from the Democrats, it's certainly from the mainstream media.
Speaking of Lindsey Graham, he did say that he believes President Trump's decision would embolden ISIL, which he made that comment yesterday, the day of the attack. And his quote was, "It will set in motion enthusiasm by the enemy." The same day, Vice President Mike Pence, with a very different message, the caliphate has crumbled and ISIS has been defeated. Is there a disconnect here in this administration, leading lawmakers and the president's vice president?
Yeah, an extreme disconnect. It's not a disconnect exactly, it's a battle. There is a fight going on right here in Washington, D.C., within the Republican Party and within the Trump administration. James Mattis, Secretary of Defense, resigned the day after Trump made the startling announcement that he was withdrawing the 2,000 U.S. troops. That was obviously a triggering event. Mattis was not only a Trump Secretary of Defense, very, very popular figure within the Pentagon, within the uniformed officer corps. So yeah, there's a war going on. Donald Trump actually has a minority position. Most of the U.S. establishment wants to remain in Syria. When the U.S. enters countries, when they occupy countries, they rarely leave. But Donald Trump is also commander-in-chief, so he has extreme authority.
Brian, what is the U.S. strategy, goal, if you will, in Syria?
Well, in terms of the traditional neocon consensus conservative within the Washington establishment, it is the U.S. should remain in Syria, in the northern part of Syria, and retain forward military bases to extend American influence in whatever the outcome is of the Syrian civil war. Donald Trump, also playing to his political base and to the American people who don't want these military engagements, says, look, the battle's won. ISIS has been relegated to a very, very tiny part of Syria. It's just a little part near the Iraq border. The battle's basically over. Why retain these troops? Do the American soldiers want to come home? That's a question that's rarely asked. But I would say after yesterday, a lot of American military families will say, yeah, why is this our fight? So we have a battle going on, a battle royale within American politics. It's among the elites, but it's also amongst the American people.
How much has this damaged the U.S. relationship with Turkey, which says we're going to go on with our operation against the Kurds? Sorry, we're not going to give you any guarantees about their safety, which seems to be a big point of contention here.
It is a big point of contention. I mean, U.S.-Turkish relations have gone south since July 2016 with the failed coup. We see this as a primary issue right now. The Turkish government, the Erdogan government, says any even semi-autonomous region for the Kurds in northern Syria is an existential threat to Turkey because it has a 13 million person population of Kurds, mainly in southeast Turkey. Yeah, there's a big difference of opinion. Turkey, of course, is the eastern flank of NATO. This means a lot.
We'll leave it there. Brian Becker, thank you.
My pleasure.